Welcome to another Wednesday morning wheelchair wake and bake here on To Be Blunt. My name is John Fowler. I hope you've got something loaded, rolled, or packed because you know I hate smoking alone. I have got some Fruity Pebbles OG grown by Burnt River Farms packed here. I'm gonna hit this and then we'll get into our rambling. So, I picked this up from Sweet Relief, and if you watch any of my other stuff, you probably know I go there a lot. And the reason for that is that they're at the end of my street. So, while there are other dispensaries in the area, I have to go past Sweet Relief to go to any of them. And I like their product, I like their service, I like their prices. And for a very long time, they were the only medical dispensary in the town. There were a few others here. They were recreational, and that's not to say anything bad about the recreational market. The recreational market is fine. It's great. I think there should be a national recreational market. My issue is that I feel like the way Oregon has their different bureaus, it's kind of killing off the medical industry here in the state. And what I mean by that is, as far as I understand it, if you grow or produce a product of marijuana, you can either be licensed by the Liquor Commission or the Medical Commission, not both. So manufacturers have no incentive to go for the medical community because it's a much smaller market. So when you're talking about dispensaries, a dispensary has no incentive to stay with a medical license rather than a recreational because they're running out of products to sell. Everyone's switching over. So on top of, if you're running out of medical dispensaries in most areas, what you're left with then is that patients have very little incentive to get a medical card. The eastern half of the state, a lot of those counties have moratoriums on recreational marijuana, so they can't have recreational dispensaries, but they can have medical dispensaries. And so if you live out there, having a medical card makes sense. But what seems like is eventually going to happen is that you're just going to have farms growing flowers and selling flowers straight to these dispensaries and straight to the patients, or the patients are going to start growing flower themselves in the more rural areas, because the only two places it makes sense to have a medical card increasingly anymore is either you spend a lot of time in states with reciprocity, in which case you'd be able to get your medicine there. You live in a rural area and don't really go into town that often, so the higher purchase limit would make sense so you could actually buy more. Or you have the room to grow your own and you don't have to worry about an HOA because you can have a lot more. There's no limit on the number of immature plants you can have as a medical patient, where there is as a recreational grower. So, and again, if you live in the eastern half of the state where there are no recreational stores, you're going to have medical as your only option. But in suburban and urban areas, there are so many recreational dispensaries that, you don't have the high purchase limit, but you can go down the block and, hit the dispensary every day if you need to. You can, it's, the real trade-off there comes in when the tax form, because technically a medical dispensary won't charge you tax if you're a medical patient. That said, most recreational dispensaries, as far as I know, are going to charge you tax whether you're a recreational or medical patient because they have to charge tax on every transaction. Some of them, I believe, will eat that tax for the medical patients, but not all of them. And I don't know that for certain. That's just my current understanding. I could be totally wrong about that. But that's the way I believe I understand it right now. So, at such time as if you have a location that, having a medical card will let you buy things without tax, well, all right, then you have to consider the amount of tax you're paying versus the cost of the doctor's appointment that you'll have to pay out of pocket and the cost of the processing fee. So, it really depends. The economics are a lot easier to make sense if you don't live in the city or suburban area with a dispensary every couple blocks. So, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for the state, but I do know that I don't really think the medical industry is continuing to flourish right now. I believe they're getting to a point where it's kind of down to the wire almost. And I don't know. I guess the state has a couple options. They can put the Liquor Control Commission in charge of everything. They can put the OMPP in charge of everything. Just change it from medical to OMMTP. You change it from medical to something else, just marijuana commission or something. Or they could just kind of let it go where it is, and it's going to become a skeleton at best. Like I said, without any kind of producers of actual, edibles or concentrates or anything like that, you're going to end up with farms growing flower and selling that flower directly to dispensaries, and those dispensaries selling it directly over to the consumers, who in a lot of those areas might even be able to grow it themselves. You might have a few farms out there who are industrious enough to invest in a rosin press and start making some rosin. Good on them, but the fact is that's going to be a very small niche market out there, and it's not really going to affect the rest of the state that much anymore. And that I feel is what concerns me, is the impact of the medical community is diminishing. In the onslaught of the well, not really onslaught. It's just the recreational. It's a force of nature. It was an entire market just waiting to happen, and once it did, it can't really be held back. But I feel like we shouldn't expand it at the cost of killing the medical industry. That's all. They should both exist in my mind. They both have their place, and maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe something's, maybe it'll, I can't tell you what the future holds. I just feel like I wanted to say something about that today, because it's kind of a, as more states legalize recreational marijuana, more states are going to run into a situation where the medical system may be put into jeopardy. It may be, run the risk of just disappearing. So, consider it a PSA, consider it a bitch session, whatever. It's a little heavy, I guess, for Wake and Bake, but it's just something that's been on my mind, because I've been kind of, watching the system around here just kind of go more recreational. And again, I've got no problem with the recreational. It's a difference, as far as I'm concerned, of headspace. When I go into a recreational dispensary, they've got the music going. It's all kind of party atmosphere usually, and that's fine because that's what everyone's there for. They're there to have a good time. They're there to party. When I go into a medical dispensary, I go in expecting a bit of low-key atmosphere, just kind of laid back and quiet, and because I'm there for medicine, and again, I like them both for their individual things, but I think they each have their own place. I just wish we could keep them all around. But we live in a free market economy, so that's the free market, and the laws are going to determine what happens. So that said, those of you out there who live in a state that's considering recreational, get involved, find out what framework they're going to try and implement. See if you can't make sure that it maintains the existing medical framework with respect to not prohibiting manufacturers from selling to both. Because come on, just because someone wants I don't know, it's medical patients want the stuff you're selling to recreational patients too. They're recreational folk as well. Like it's don't exclude the medical community is all I'm saying. That's all. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this and get off my soapbox. For you younger viewers, a soapbox, it was an old crate that mountebanks used to... never mind. You get the internet. Anyway, everyone have a wonderful day. Take care. Love y'all. Yeah. Later.